talking. I'll be right back.
Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm here with the coach, John Brent.
Man, I'm here with the vet, Mr. Ian Griffin. What a great podcast this is going to be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, this is our 76th podcast. Man, 76, beautiful number.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I'm excited about it because when we first talked about doing this, we first talked about doing, maybe something just to, politics and things, and it kind of expanded. But doing podcasts like this one, Vet, this is what is special. This is what it's all about right here, Veterans Day.
Well, this is one of my favorite days of the year is Veterans Day. It's and what's unique about this one here is we're going to have a lot of people come on, and as we do, the veterans that we have come on, none of them are going to be veterans from the Vietnam era, unfortunately, and none of them are going to be anyone that was drafted. They're all going to be veterans that have come aboard after December of 1972. So they're all volunteers. So that's a unique thing in itself. It looks like I'm going solo for a while, so that's kind of a sucky thing because the coach is having little challenges down there. But for our viewers, Veterans Day, and we're going to discuss a lot what it means to each other, what Veterans Day is. But first of all, I got to throw the shot across the bow that, Veterans Day is to commemorate every veteran, every service member that served either in the United States Army, the United States Marines, the Navy. I gave them a hard time, but yes, the Navy, the Air Force, or the Coast Guard. And it's an opportunity for us to remember that. And it started in November back in 1918, to be honest. And so we got the coach back up here a second. He's got the pretty Christmas tree behind him. But it started back there in the Great War at the end of it, and it was to commemorate the people who have served. And it is not Memorial Day where we commemorate the people who have lost their lives, and we show respect and honor for that. But it is for ones who have all served. And I think it's a unique time of the year. It kind of goes hand in hand close to the Marines' birthday. And I'll throw it over to you, Coach, for some comments you got on it here real quick while I got you on still before we start bringing some people up here.
Well, one of the first things that I think about when I think of Veterans Day is I think about, true heroes of our country. All the freedoms that we have and all the things that we get to enjoy is because of people like yourself and a lot of people that we're going to have on here tonight. And hundreds of thousands of others have, served our country so we can do what we do. Like me, I've never served once. I get to enjoy all the freedoms of this country by just being a citizen. And so many people take sacrifices, being away from their families at holidays, being away from their families for months, sometimes years, just because they decide that they want to serve this country. And I think that's one of the greatest honors of this country is the people that do it voluntarily. I know there's some places around the world where you don't volunteer, you have to. But, outside the draft that we've had a couple of times, this has been purely a volunteer military. And for us to actually clap our hands and say thank you to the veterans once a year seems like it's not enough. But, hey, to do it the way we do it now it's an honor. It's an honor for me to be on with all these people. So I really appreciate everything you guys have done.
Well, Coach, we truly appreciate that. And you mentioned it, alluded to it, is many other countries sit there and they have challenges where they are not volunteers. They are conscript in some ways. They either have to give some to some type of service, whether it be the military or so forth. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is I know many veterans will go out there on the holiday and go hit at that Applebee's. I do believe that's why my son, he joined because he wanted to get that Applebee's discount is what he explained to me, to be honest. And I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll get him on in a minute. He'll let us know all about that, I'm quite sure. But many, go out, and I've never been one to go pursue those things. I don't look either way at it, whoever does or doesn't. It's just wasn't my thing. But there are some places that give some nice meal options and things like that. That's kind of cool. And, I got to respect that because they take the time to tip their hat to us, and we should be grateful for that. So as we're moving along, I think we should just go ahead and start bringing up some cool people up here, Coach. What do you think? So I'm going to go ahead and bring up one, Lonnie Morales, right here. He's a guy that I've got the opportunity to serve with. Him and I were fellow first sergeants in OIF2, and we joked around and called him the Little Ranger, but he's a bad motor scooter, I can tell you that. So I'm going to throw it over to you, Lonnie, because we want to hear about some things about you. And, Coach, you got anything, throw it to him. So go ahead, Lonnie.
First of all, I want to thank you guys for having us on, all of us, not just me. So to start off, no, I wasn't drafted, but I joined the Army in 1983. A high school sweetheart dragged me over to the East Coast. I was living in Cape May, New Jersey, and I was renting out a room from this old couple as I worked there, and didn't realize that he was a veteran himself. I knew that he had some type of malaria issues going on because he was a POW and MIA in Guadalcanal during World War II. But one of the things that I remember the most was that he always loved watching his football every Sunday. And he would always say, Lonnie, go get me a beer. Lonnie, go get me a beer. Well, during one of those Sundays back in 1982, I want to say November, December, a commercial came on. And if you remember the commercial, some of us are old enough to remember this commercial, be all that you can be, join the Army or in the Army. And it was,
yes,
it showed the airplane flying and all the paratroopers coming out of the airplane. And at the end, it shows the soldiers saying, good morning, First Sergeant, and here's your cup of coffee. Well, it wasn't that particularly, but it was the fact that I saw people jumping out of airplanes. And I knew I needed to go somewhere with my life. And so I said, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. So the very next day, Monday, I went to Wildwood, New Jersey, where the nearest recruiting station was. And rest in peace, my dad, who was a former Marine, retired 20 years, 2 tours in Vietnam. So I went to go join the Marines thinking, okay, yeah, sure, I'll follow my dad's footsteps. But the Marine recruiting station was closed. So I went next door to the Army. And sure enough, sitting behind the desk of the recruiter was this big old Airborne Ranger sign. And I just walked in. I said, that's what I want to do. And he said, have a seat, sign me up. I was already ordered to the 82nd Airborne Division once I completed AIT and basic training, which was, okay, not too bad. So I just kept on going, putting my best foot forward. Graduated Airborne School in September of 1983. And, of course, everybody knows 2 months later we were deployed to Grenada. So, yes, I got to go to Grenada. It was humbling. It was scary because when the doors opened and we ran out of the back of the C-130, all I knew was I saw Cobra gunships. I saw the C-130 gunship. I just heard machine gun fire. And then I'm just like, what the heck did I just get myself into? But I kept on going. So then as I progressed in the 82nd, we did a jump in Turkey. And the reason why I bring this up is because it's how my career progressed. So we did an exercise in Turkey, got to jump into Turkey, got to do some great things. We come back to Fort Bragg, and not even a week later, I come down on orders for Turkey. And I'm like, this is kind of odd. What does this mean? And I'm like, well, I've never been to Turkey. I can go to Turkey. Sure, why not? So I went to Turkey, got to Turkey, did some great things, and then it came time for re-enlistment. And I'm like, you know what? This Army thing is not too bad right now. So why not see where they can take me? And I said, you know what? I'm a California boy. Can I go back to California? Sure, we can send you to Fort Ord, California, because they're doing a light infantry thing over there. So I got there, did my Ranger thing. You know, back that day, they had for 76 Yankees back then, now 92 Yankees, they said, get promoted without regard to the cutoff score. All you have to do is join the Ranger Battalion and graduate Ranger School. And I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of easy. No, it wasn't easy. So, you know, it's the opportunities like that, that not just the Army, but be it the Marines, the Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, if you have the opportunity and they offer you the opportunities to progress and you put your best foot forward, then you'll succeed. I mean, yes, you might have hiccups here and there. And we had soldiers, especially Ian, when we were first sergeants, you know, got them on the right path. And now they're doing great and good things, or good and better things. So that there kind of makes me reflect on one old man Clark. I think his name was David Clark. I know his last name was Clark. To realize that he was a veteran back then, and it made me realize what a veteran is and why I'm honored to be a veteran. And what makes me appreciate being a veteran is that I want to make change, and we can make change. And now I'm going to throw the Navy into this. And if we remember back in 2014, Admiral McCraven did a speech down in the University of Texas. And I had the opportunity of meeting this guy. He's a Navy SEAL during my special operations days. And even as a civilian, I met him just recently, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, because he's here locally. He did this great speech. And one of the best things that I took away from that he did was that if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. And so there's more to that than just making your bed. But it's the fact that if you make your bed, you're already putting one foot forward and you're walking out the door. And then now you're going to do something else. So what makes me think about that is because every day when I go outside and I see the soldiers like Ira's wearing the hat or the jackets with the vest with the patches on it, or the veterans outside of the Walmart or Target or whatever handing the little poppy flowers out, you know, it makes me think, wow, I'm one of those guys, you know? So how can we change? Look at all the organizations. Just look on Facebook right now. Look at all the organizations and resources and groups that are out there that me, myself, all I have to do is volunteer. But you know what makes it the best? And this is what I'm going to leave at. This is the best feeling that I like, is when I see someone, no matter where they are, a restaurant, a store, on the sidewalk, or just passing by, and they're wearing that, and I stop and I'll go out of my way, that extra 10 feet or that 20 feet, and I'll kind of like chase them down, and I'll just stop them and I say, thank you for your service. That's right there is what makes me proud to be a veteran.
So, Lonnie, I got 2 things here. We're going to show something here in a second, but I want you to lean back and I want you to show your shirt, because Lonnie has a 75th Ranger Regiment, a battalion on there, you know, and this is the deal. A lot of people don't know this. It's not been in the military. There's some people that believe that you're not a Ranger unless you were in the 75th Ranger Regiment. Actually, Senator Tom Cotton is a Ranger, but he was never in the Ranger Regiment. And the media kind of pushed on that pretty hard about that. That says, oh, you were never a Ranger. He was a Ranger, but he just wasn't in the regiment. And because that 75th Ranger Regiment is pretty bad. But I got to throw this out here. Who the hell is this guy right here? I want to know. Look at that guy. Look at that killer.
18 years old. Just I had to choose this picture because it just takes me back to the day when I started, you know, what made me join, you know, and like the coach said earlier, it was a volunteer thing. I mean, nothing stopped me. I wasn't required to join. I didn't have to join. It was selfless service to begin with. And I didn't know what I was getting into. I just wanted to jump out of an airplane. That was it. But then Grenada happened. And then Panama happened. Desert Shield, Desert Storm, you know, and then Iraq, you know, all the things. But you know what? I kept on going. I kept on doing it. My country asked me to do it. I did it. Good, right, or indifferent. And I know your favorite number 13, Ian, in reference to the soldiers that lost their lives. Yes, we've had some hiccups in our time. But you know what? They did what they were called to do, and they did the best that they can. But unfortunately, 13 individuals lost their lives that should not have because of some OOPSO leadership skills.
Well, Lonnie, I'm going to throw it to Coach, see if you got any questions here in a second. But, dude, I'm going to say this. That picture, that was a stud, man. I'm going to be politically incorrect as possible. That was a stud, and you should be proud of that. I love seeing pictures when we were young because it shows what America got. People forget that America got the best of us, and rightfully so, but they got the best of us, and it was good serving with you. Go ahead, Coach. What do you got?
Well, you know, Lonnie, thank you so much for your service. It's one of the things that I teach my students and actually teach my kids the same thing. If you see a veteran wearing a hat, wearing a shirt, go up to them and tell them thank you for your service. And most of the time when you tell them thank you, they always say thank you back. And it's so weird when they say thank you, when, you know, in reality, what we're doing is, you know, the life we get to live and the freedoms that we get to enjoy is because of people like you and the vet and a lot of people on here tonight that went out and decided, hey, I'm going to enlist because I want to serve my country. Historically, there's something about Americans. We have this tenacity about us. And I can see the passion that Lonnie has for it, and also see that same passion in Ira from time to time. It's this passion that we have not only for good and, you know, a good person in the country and, you know, politics. We need more people like that in our country that be passionate about not only the country, but also about, you know, mankind. One last thing, Lonnie, you said something about make your bed. There's a book that I read, The 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. It says, start with cleaning your room. So it's kind of the same thing. Get yourself in order and everything else will fall into place. So absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Thank you all that you did for this country. We really, really appreciate it.
Lonnie, we're going to put you down on the bottom and bring Rodney Cook up. Thank you very much. And we'll get you back up here in a minute. So thank you, Rodney. So Coach, this here is Rodney, class of 1987. Don't let him lie to you. He flew the freaking SR-71, tanked up on some pints of ale from England. He's going to try to claim that he was a mechanic, but I don't believe it. But go ahead, Rodney. We want to hear from you, man. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, Ian, I appreciate you having me on the show. Thank you, John, for having me on the show. Lonnie's a hard guy to follow. He is so passionate.
Try being a first sergeant with him being a fellow first sergeant.
Yeah. The main thing I wanted to bring to the table tonight is that I was around quite a few people while I was in, and I did not know how many good people were in the United States until I joined, and I didn't know anything about the nature of the average guy that was in the military before I came in. And I've also learned another thing. After getting out, you go back to be around veterans in general. I work around a lot of veterans at Southwest Airlines. They are working on the airplanes. They're flying the airplanes. They're everywhere. It's still that same sense of family when you're around all those veterans. You still feel tight, even though the Air Force guys make fun of the Army guys and the Army guys make fun of the Navy guys. It's great. It's still there. It stays with you when you get out. You still have that feeling of warmth towards your fellow ex-soldier, ex-airman, ex-sailor. You all feel like you're real tight-knit still. And everyone has the same mindset that they only could have gotten by having been in the military and served. You learn that there's reality in the world. There's consequences to what governments and people do. And there's really people out there that are hurting, that need help. It opens your eyes when you join. You see the reality of everything.
So Rodney, who's this stud here? I mean, I have no doubt this guy right here could pump back a whole bunch of ale and probably run naked down the flight line or something like that. I'm not sure. I'm just throwing it out there. So go ahead.
Oh no. That was the evil me. That was the younger evil me. I think Crash Cook was my nickname back then, but I'm not that guy anymore. Okay.
Well, Rodney, man, it's good to see you on here, and thank you for having to be stationed in England. I mean, life's got to be hard in those times there. I'll be quite honest with you, as an Army guy giving you hell on that. But I'm going to throw it over to Coach and see what he's got for you here real quick, okay?
Absolutely.
Man, Rodney, it's so good to see you, man. God almighty. How many years has it been?
Too many.
Too many. But hey,
we can use the excuse that our memory's going.
I know. But one of the things that I always, when I think about some of the military people that I've known, and I talked to Ian about it, we talked to, Ira and Alan about it, is you get to travel the world. And some of you guys get to go to some of these great places that someone like me has not gotten to go. And he talked about England, and I know that the vet had lived in Germany. And, my cousin, it was in Kazakhstan one time. It's like, get to go around the world and do these great things. And you get to do it, representing our country. Tell me one of the coolest places that you have as a memory of being able to go.
Inverness, Scotland, pretty close to where they spot the Loch Ness Monster. I spent a little time there, got to know the people and couldn't understand them once I got to know them.
That's awesome. Thanks, man.
Rodney, we're gonna put you down at the bottom, and we're gonna bring the next guy up, which happens to be Gene Underwood. And hang on there for us. Yes, sir. Gene, what do you got, man? So, well, first, I've had you on here before. You're on mute too, but I had you on here before. And for those who don't know, Gene and I had the pleasure of serving in Iraq together. Well, it was my pleasure. I'm not sure if he had much pleasure in all that. And then
pleasure.
And the second thing is, is things come full circle because he got to be the platoon sergeant of my son while he was in AIT at training. And I loved every bit of that. That is awesome. So go ahead, Gene. Talk to us here, man.
It was always fun being with you, Mr. Griffin. It's always great. And I see Jay Clark on here and Clifford Payne, and they were always great people to have around the company. But back when I joined in 97, I was 27 years old, so I came in late. And I came in because I was disgruntled, but I loved the military. And I'll be honest with you, the sole reason I came in is because of John Wayne. You know, I loved watching all the movies of him. Yeah.
Who wouldn't? I mean, hell yeah.
I loved all those movies and the Clint Eastwood movies and all that stuff. I loved every bit of it. And they kind of made me get drawn towards the military. I was going to join the Marines, but then the Marine recruiter showed up, and I'm not going to lie, he scared the living crap out of me with his square jaw and the squared away everything right there. So I joined the Army, loved every bit of it, got deployed a couple of times to a couple of places I had never thought I'd ever see, like Bahrain and Qatar. And I don't really call them deployments, but ADA people, they seem to think that's the hardest thing in the world. But Iraq once, never Afghanistan. And I got the pleasure of meeting Mr. Chris Griffin, who was always a good sport. He had to bring over some of his battle buddies so they could watch him get smoked by me. And then I had to tell him why and who taught me how to smoke somebody like that. And that was his dad, I suppose. I'm not for sure, but yeah, loved
I don't know
every
what
bit
you're
of it.
saying.
I loved being in the military. It's after the first enlistment, it was more of, you know, do I want to go back home to Illinois where there's 2,000 people in the hometown and I'll be doing nothing but working in a factory doing the same crap I did when I joined the military. So I just stayed in. And one year or one term, 4 years turned into 20 years. The next thing I know, I was turning 50 years old and retiring. So that's my story, and I loved every bit of it.
So who is this guy here with the eyes closed?
Well, that's me back in the days of Mr. Ian Griffin being my first sergeant. Boy, that's back about 30, 40 pounds ago, too.
That's the day room. Holy smokes.
No, that's not the day room. That's my apartment up there.
Is it? Oh, I thought
And
it
the
was the day room.
stairwells. Hell no,
man.
that ain't the day room.
I thought it was our day room. Oh, my God.
No,
I'm getting old.
You're getting too old for this. I'm surprised you can handle doing this stuff.
I know. It's a stretch. So, Coach, what do you got for Gene here, man?
Well, one of the things that I hear from Gene is, you know, and a lot of the guys that are vets that we have on here and ones that I know is there's like a camaraderie between each other that it's it's like a fraternity, and it's a bunch of great guys, kind of like when you're in coaching, there's like a coaching fraternity, same thing. So it's always great to hear the stories and the prodding and picking on each other, just like we did when we were kids with our good friends. You guys get to military for years. The friendships that you on the rest of your life that you served around the country. I wish I had more of that. So, Gene, thanks so much for being on here, and thanks so much for serving our country. We really, really appreciate it.
That's a strange thing you say that, Coach, because my brother's a coach of high school football and basketball. And when I was in the military and I was trying to decide if I was going to make it a career, I was like, do I want my brother, my nieces and nephews to go into the military and have to do the same stuff? And I didn't want them to have to suffer through that. Now my brother's, like I said, a football coach, a basketball coach, and he loves every bit of it. So it's weird that you say that. And it is a camaraderie, no matter where you go or who you talk to. If they say Army or military, then they're your brother.
I'll say this is my wife says this all the time. If I ever needed something done, she tells me the people that she served on the PSD team, they would drop everything to take care of it, whatever she needed. And I feel that way with almost anybody that I've served with in the military. If they needed something, I would drive wherever I had to drive. And I feel there's a mutual respect in regards to that. And
just since I know she's probably going to watch this, I didn't even know she was in the military.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Oh my gosh. Yes. So Gene, if she was right next to me, she'd say, kick him to the curb. So I'm going to kick you to the curb. Now I got to bring up Jaye Antwine here. But that is so awesome. I love it. Oh, my gosh. So here we got former classmate of mine, Jaye Antwine, and she's got somebody she wants to talk about here. And I'm going to bring his picture up as she talks in a minute here. So go ahead, Jay. Good to have you on here.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. If you don't know, Ian did a Zoom with my kids last year at my school, and they interviewed them and asked them questions, and we shared that throughout our whole school district here in Birdville. And so he's kind of a celebrity when it comes to Veterans Day at my school district. So I thank you for doing that last year, Ian, and thank you all of you that served. I come from a military family. Not that my dad didn't serve, but both my grandparents or grandfathers served in the Korean War. And then my uncle was a pilot in the Air Force, and he was on one of the Air Force One crews back when JFK was in office. So, I mean, our family has been exposed to that for a while. And I am engaged to a former Master Sergeant in the Air Force, Master Sergeant Tim Rohrbach, and he was in for 24 years. And if you asked him now, he would say he didn't want to leave. He would have stayed longer.
Look at that stud right there.
I know he didn't look that anymore.
Once a stud, always a stud. You never lose the status. You never lose the status. So,
I guess the thing about him and what I've noticed about all the other people that I've known that have served in the military is, like I said, Tim would not take one day for it, and he would do it again and again and again. And I love the pride that he has that he did serve, and the pride that he has in our country. And Ian, you brought this up about people dropping things to help each other that are, all military. It doesn't matter what branch you were in. And Tim was a mechanic in the Air Force for all those years, and it served him well. He works at Lockheed Martin now and writes mods for F-35s. So, but him being there, he's around all different branches of military, more probably now so than he was probably when he was enlisted. But I mean, I have made so many friends from other branches just by being with him and the people that he works with. And that is so true. It is a family that it doesn't matter if you met them 5 minutes ago. It doesn't matter if you've known them 20 years. You all step up and you do the right thing for those in need. And that's been probably one of the most eye-opening things that I have noticed about that, because I haven't been around that. Educators do that too. I mean, we step up and take care of our school family, but not like this. It's not like everybody in the district does. I mean, that's been probably the most amazing thing about that. And just like, I had that car accident, and all of his people from work, all of those ex-military people are stepping up. Y'all need food. You need this. You need that. Does Jay need to ride to the doctor? Does Jay need this? Does Jay need that? Everybody steps up and takes care of their own. And that's been amazing. And so, it makes me proud to go with him and to see people come up to him and say, thank you for your service. Thank you for doing this. And here in Fort Worth, I mean, being with the Joint Air Force Base here, and there's so many military people here. So there's a lot of people that are very open and gracious to everybody. I mean, when you go into a store and thanking them for their service. So that's probably been one of the best things, is how much I didn't realize how many people really do step up and say thank you to people, because I hadn't seen that before.
Well, Jay, I will say this is thank you to your veteran and your family of veterans, because that there is nothing to shake a stick at. I tip my hat to that all day long. I got a lot of respect for those that have served and their loved ones. And I'm going to throw it over to the coach real quick, and then I'm going to bring on Ira after that. So go ahead, Coach.
Well, I'm going to change the subject just a little bit, because when I think of Jaye Antwine, I think of Pittsburgh High School, and I think of cheerleading, But I'll tell you one thing, Jaye was one of our cheerleaders. But I'll tell you what I really remember most about Jaye when I think back, it was one of the nicest, sweetest people I'd ever met. And always, and when I say always, I mean always had a smile on her face. And she was always just a great person to be around growing up. So Jaye, thank you so much for coming on here. And it's so awesome to see how happy you are and where you're at in life. It's great to see.
Well,
yeah, Coach.
Brent.
Class of '87 is rolling deep tonight. I'm just throwing it out there at you. So thank you, Jaye. Appreciate
it. On here too. I can't wait.
Yes. Yep. Thank you, Jaye. And we're going to move you down the bottom for a little bit. Oh, Ira, we got you on here, man.
Hey, good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Glad to be here in the great company of
veterans. Where'd you go?
Huh? I'm here.
Uh-oh. Better get somebody else real quick. There he is.
Am I on? Okay, there we go.
You're good, Ira. You're good.
Okay. Let's take a quick reflection back to George Washington, where he said to Congress years ago, a couple of centuries ago, that if we take about the American youth, if you will, the propensity for future generations of Americans to join its nation's military and fight its nation's wars would have very well depended upon how well Congress took care of them in the previous wars. If you listen to the veteran stories tonight, you'll find that they are eerily similar. And I listened to Top Morales, our fellow resident ranger, talk about how he joined the Army, what things inspired him to join the Army, and also what Gina talked about, the movies. Well, there are so many different factors that influence us to join our nation's military and be willing to step forward and fight our nation's wars. My story started when I was a young boy, and unlike Lieutenant Dan from the Forrest Gump movies, where he had a relative that from the Revolutionary War up to present, they fought and died in each war. I came from a multi-generational military family, the Baldwins and the Thompsons. And my mom's father was inducted into the military the day the armistice was signed back in the day for World War I. I also had, on my father's side, my grandfather was in the Navy during World War II. And this is actually a picture of him. Let me see if I can get up here. My grandfather in World War II.
Oh, my goodness.
Father, huh?
I said, oh, my goodness. That's awesome.
Yeah, my father was drafted out of college, and he was sent to Korean War, 1952-53. And of course, I've had other relatives. My brother was going to go in the Marine Corps, but he ran out the back door while I answered the door of the Marine recruiter coming in. He regretted that decision. So some 5 years or so later, when it was time for me to start serving, well, I dropped out of college and joined the military. I knew at some point I was going to go into the military, but seeing that I had a GPA of about point something, it was time for me to go serve my country. But that was a decision that I didn't, take much time to weigh. It was an easy decision to make because I'd already been familiar with what veterans are, what they're about, and the love they have for one another. Because my father was a member. He was actually the commander of the local VFW post, American Legion 181. And I used to love to hang around those old guys and hear their stories. I'm like, man, that's freaking awesome, and just the camaraderie that they had. And so if you look, for my career, it started October 31st. And I think that was the day that we were going down to play in this little island called Grenada. I kind of was ready to go then. And so I already knew how to shoot. The recruiter said, son, you got to go to our basic and IT first, and then we'll talk about your future deployments. Well, I enlisted in the military. I was an enlisted soldier for 11 and a half years. I was in aviation. I wanted to fly helicopters because I did listen to that Be All You Can Be commercial. Hello, First Sergeant. Good morning, First Sergeant. But also where you can hide a 10,000-pound bird in the tree. I wanted to go to from high school to flight school program. Well, I couldn't see well enough because I used to wear glasses. But nonetheless, I did get a chance to mess around with a whole lot of fancy flying machines called helicopters and such. And I loved that. I was a door gunner, crew chief, and airframe repairman for the whole time. And my service in the military, it paid for my college education. I got a chance to travel to many different countries all over, to include places in Central and South Asia. Later, and I'll talk about that. But got a great chance to to get a great education, travel. I ran track and played football for the military, and it's just a number of things that just I would have not have done had I stayed in little town Laurinburg, North Carolina, where I grew up. I just knew that there was a bigger world out there, and I wanted to be a part of that. So finished ROTC on my education and such, and I got a commission, and I came back in active duty as a transportation officer. And I tell you, just great time as a young officer. And
losing vet.
Yeah, and each time, promotions and opportunities as an officer. I actually ended up doing over 30 years in the military, and I tell you, I had a great time, and probably would have been serving until the moment they kicked me out. But at some point, you realize it's time for an oak tree to grow and let the young saplings come up and enjoy their time in the military. I wear this hat. I wear this hat with pride. This is one of the many caps that I have, having served in multiple units. From particularly the 1st, the 2nd, and the 3rd Infantry Divisions, respectively, back to back, and just a number of other assignments, which I had a great opportunity to be a country desk officer for Turkmenistan and Kazakhstan, and working with their militaries and bringing them in line so that they could participate in this global war on terrorism. So just such great opportunities. But I think, Ian, you have a picture that you wanted to talk about the influences. Can you hear me? I said earlier, there are many people who influence my father, grandfathers, relatives and such. But look here. I had mentioned when I was I didn't mention yet, but when I was a young soldier back in 1984, 85 at Fort Campbell in the 101st Airborne Division, there was a gentleman who came in, and while I did not know he was my division commander at the time, you see him centered in the center here. His Lieutenant General retired. I don't call him Pat. So much. Oh my God, I forget his name already. I'm thinking General Thompson, but no, this is 3 gentlemen here. The one guy of which in the red, he's no longer with us. Command Sergeant Major Simon Ramos. He's Command Sergeant Major. Was in the Army for 35 years. Very good friend of mine. He was like a father to me, and I miss him dearly. And if you look in the middle, oh my God, I'm having a brain fart today, a Biden moment.
Your age is catching up with you.
Yeah. I think I sent it to you, Ian, earlier. I had lost my train of thought, but
go ahead, Ira. You're good.
Okay. Yeah. I'm a little breaking up here, but I ended up talking to him when I was a young soldier, and just listened to his story, and only discovered that he was my division commander. So here's a PFC talking to a 2-star general, and you remember, and we actually had a great story about that. But this was an opportunity for me to reunite those 2 warriors after 28 years of separation. Simon in the red shirt was the command sergeant major for the 2nd Infantry Division, whereas the ADC was Patrick in the middle, General Burton D. Patrick. That's his name. I'm thinking General Thompson, but that was my first commander. But that's General Burton D. Patrick. So I was able to reunite them. But the hats are symbolic that we share a brotherhood that lasts to this day. And I always see a veteran with a hat. I always go forward and say, thank you for your service.
So Ira, man, it's good to have you on here. And it's good that you acknowledge some of those mentors that we all had mentors in there and such. And with all the divisions that you and I, you served time in the 101st Airborne Air Assault Division. Am I correct?
That's correct. That was my first division of assignment, fresh out of AIT.
So I got those air assault things up there.
Yeah.
So the other day I walked past a gentleman who's looked like he's about 30 years older than me. And I said air assault because he had the 101st Screaming Eagles on. And he cussed me up a storm, said, we ain't air assault. We're freaking airborne, sonny boy. And I'm like, holy shit, man. So anyway, I'll go throw it over to the coach real quick and let him get some comments in here. And then we got to move on to Mr. Alan Bailey, but it is good to have you on here, Ira. Thank you very much, sir. Go ahead, Coach.
I see you, Coach.
Well,
Yeah.
I really don't even have a lot of comments because he's one of my favorite people, and I really appreciate every time you're on here. Your intelligence and your remember the guy's name. You've been watching Joe Biden on CNN, I guess.
I have. I was trying to showing respect to the general and all, but he insisted I call him by the first name, and I was thinking of so many things. But you know what? I did have a Biden moment.
So Ira, we're gonna throw you down there, down to the pit crew, and we're gonna bring up Alan Bailey here. So go ahead, Alan.
Alan.
Class of '87, Mr. Helicopter Rider himself, man. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I went in January 1990.
I appreciate it.
And I hate that I waited 3 years after we graduated to go in. I wish I'd have went in '87. Me and old Stephen Hill were supposed to go in on the buddy program. And I kind of blue falconed him right as we got ready to do it. I said, hey, man, I said, I don't think I want to go. But you know what? 1990 came around, and I've been working out at Henderson's with my dad for about 2 years. And I told my dad, I said, I don't know how you've done this for your whole life. I can't do it. So one day I took lunch, went to Mount Pleasant to the recruiter office, came back that evening, told my dad I'd leave in 2 weeks to go to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for basic training. And boy, it's been a ride ever since. First 15 years, and it was just a regular old job. But for the first 15 years, you go to the field and train and everything. And then 2001 hit and things got hairy for everybody. But I want to tell you what, I wouldn't change it at all. I was wasting Larry's money going to college. I hated school. And I said, man, there's got to be something better. And so 25 years of Army life, 25 and a half. Lots of moving around, lots of moving parts. I think my boys probably saw about 4 or 5 different schools. They went everywhere with me, them and my wife. But I wouldn't change it at all. I mean, those 25 years, you know what? I feel them every time I get out of the bed in the morning. Every time I stand up, I feel all 25 of them. But hey, I'd do it all over again, and without even thinking about it. Everybody talking about how they go and they thank vets. I'm gonna tell you, the job I have now, I had to go to a guy's house to locate all his utility lines on his property, and I came out there and I had a hat on. Well, it wasn't this one. It was probably a first cav hat. And he come out and started talking to me. And come to find out, he was a fellow artilleryman, vet from Vietnam. And we got to talking. And before I realized it, we drank a pot of coffee together. And I'd been there for about 3 hours longer than I probably should have been. But it was just him. His wife had passed away. He didn't have any kids. It was just him. And that's what I've realized is those old vets, the ones that probably didn't get treated the way they should have got treated when they came home. A lot of them cats, that's just them. If they're still alive, it's just them. They just want somebody to talk to. And I love sitting and talking to them guys. If you can get them to talk and they can tell you some stories. And what's funny is their stories aren't much different than our stories. It's just a different time frame. And Jay talking about how we can meet up with each other and it's like we've known each other our whole lives. It didn't matter what branch of service you were. You might not even serve together. I got a real good friend from Jefferson, Texas. He lives in Houston now. We were at Fort Bragg together. And he got out and was probably 17 years apart. And my son had an event in Houston. His wife got a hold of my wife through Facebook. Want to know if it was the Alan Bailey that her husband, Vincent Young, served with, because he's not on Facebook. And we said, yeah. So I got his phone number. We started talking and we met up. And you would have thought we had never broke apart from our time at Bragg until this 18 years later when we finally got back together. It was like we'd not missed a beat. Everything was just like it was from that day he left Fort Bragg, coming back to Texas as a civilian. And he got, but I'm gonna tell you, being a vet, I don't think it's a lot of people retire from a lot of jobs. They retire as a CEO. they retire from whatever, working at a prison or whatever. But I'm going to tell you, retire from the military, your military life. I don't think there's a job you can be more proud of when you leave, because you did something not a large percentage of people do. And I look at it, a lot of guys I know says, "Wow, man, he only did 3 or 4 years." Hey, that guy put on a uniform that nobody else wanted to put on for those 3 or 4 years. So whether you do 3 years, or you do 35 years, you get the same respect out of me. And Ira was talking about a mentor. I'm gonna tell you what, we live in such a small community. For it to be as big as Army as we are, it's a small community. One of my mentors in the Army was First Sergeant Danny Belk, right here on Fort Hood. And he retired and went to work at the Coppers Cove Police Department. He's now a lieutenant there. And he has got my youngest son as a police officer under him now. And I said, man, it is a small world. And I told him, I said, man, are you ready for 2 Baileys? He said, man, you always need a Bailey in your life. And I said, yeah, I don't know about all that. But hey, you know what? I love being here. I love listening to Ira. I hate following Ira. I don't ever want to be on the same show as Ira. That cat's got to be the smartest man in the room. That GPA he put out, I'm gonna throw the bullshit flag.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
Yeah. That might have been my GPA out there at NTCC when I decided to go to the recruiter's office.
Yeah.
But all you vets, hats off to all of y'all, man. Y'all are some great Americans. Ain't nothing better than a vet. And and if you ain't a vet, all those that are supporting of the vets, don't stop supporting them. They need your support every day. And then you can support us when you go to the ballot box every year.
So, Mr. Alan Bailey, I got to ask, who is this young stud with the porno mustache over on the left?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you what, that's a long time span between those folks. Look how smooth and flat the front of this young guy is over here compared to this guy in 2015. Boy, man, 1990. That was in Germany back when they used to still take unit photos, and they used to hang them up in the unit areas where they had individuals in a big unit picture. We took them pictures over there for a big unit photo when I was stationed in Germany. Yeah, that's a long time span right there. I wish I had that body now and the knowledge I have now with this guy.
I agree on that one wholeheartedly. I wish I had the body when I was a young sergeant, young soldier, when I met my wife, any of those things like that. And the knowledge I have now, I would be freaking rocking the world for sure. Oh my gosh. Well, Alan, it is great to have you on here. I'm going to throw it over to Coach real quick for any questions. And I got to kick you to the curb and bring the wild child Clifford on.
Well, I don't have a lot of questions because Alan's on here a lot. But one of the things it did make me think about is we had a time period, and Alan kind of referenced a little bit, where we had soldiers coming home from Vietnam that weren't getting respect of what they deserved from the country. And I think we finally learned that lesson when Desert Storm happened. I saw, studying history, the difference of, just 20 years, but they were treated so different. Now that we see veterans all over from Walmart, restaurants or whatever, and I see people all the time walking up to them and thanking them. And you know what? When I see a Vietnam veteran, there's something inside of me that just has a little bit of almost a little emotion, because you just wonder, were they treated wrongly at some point in time? But today, Alan, they're not treated wrongly, and I really appreciate that from everybody.
Yeah.
So, Alan, I'm going to have to throw you down the bottom and bring Clifford on here. So I'll see you in a few. So, Clifford, it's good to have you on, man. So, Clifford, I got to serve when I served with Gene Underwood down in Iraq. And I got a picture for Clifford also. But I'm going to let Clifford tell his story real quick, and I'll get him up here. Go ahead, Clifford.
Well, before I get started, I saw somebody in the chat make a request about the Hirosa collection. So I thought I'd break them out. I don't know how long I can wear them for.
Oh, my gosh.
It's been a long time. I'm no James Hirosa, but I'm still rocking them.
So people that don't know this, there was a video done downrange.
These are ballistic combat glasses, BCGs, ballistic combat glasses.
They're birth control glasses, what they are.
Ballistic combat glasses. Thank you very much.
He did a video on this, and it was hilarious.
But I wore these through both tours of Iraq. But anyway, first of all, thank you for having me on it. It's good to see you. And Gene Underwood and Jay Clark, it's also good to see you guys from 07, 01st. I joined the Army in June of 2001. I was 23 years old. And what led up to me joining the military is out of high school, I did factory work for about 5 years. And it was a bakery. We made graham crackers, saltines, things like that. And I was the case stacker. So I was the guy at the end of the assembly line putting boxes on pallets and the forklift would come drop them off. And in my area, I was making about $10 an hour, and going back 20 years, that was good money back in those days. But the factory that I worked for, they ended up selling out to, I can't remember if it was Nabisco or Keebler, somewhere in Kentucky. But they sold out and they started laying people off. So by the end of 2000, I was out of a job, 23 years old. The only job I'd ever had was, the one I just lost. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was sleeping on my brother's couch, and I knew I was about to wear my welcome out. So I thought, well, I'll go ahead and join the Army, and do 2 years and see what's up after that. And I ended up doing 10 years. And, I was thinking about how I was going to talk about it today. And one of the things I wonder about even now, because I joined in June, which was about 3 months before 9/11 happened. And I asked myself, if I had known then that within a year I would be joining the Army and being deployed to Iraq, would I still have joined at that time? And I like to think that I would have, but, who knows? Iraq was not someplace I was looking to go. But, at the end of the day, I wouldn't change anything being where I am now. But that was really the story of me joining the military. Is I was just a young man. I'd only done one job for 5 years, and I lost that job, and I had no idea what I wanted to do after that. And my older brother had done 2 years of the infantry. He graduated high school. One of the gentlemen you had on earlier said he joined in 90, that he wished he joined in 87. So that's about the same time frame that my brother went into the Army. He did 2 years of the infantry, and he got out. And then the Gulf War started, and he was on the inactive reserves, and he got called back into active duty and had to ship out. And I remember I was thinking at the time, I was about 11 or 12 years old, and I was thinking how awesome that was to see my brother answer the call of duty. I didn't understand how things worked with the inactive reserves and all of that, but just to see him be willing to get on that airplane, even after he had served his commitment, and fly out, I always admired that about him. So he gave me a lot of advice and encouragement before I joined the military. And here I am, I'm just a scrawny 23-year-old. I'm not even sure if I can make it through basic training. But anyway, ended up doing 10 years. I made a half a career out of it. I did my 10 years and 2 deployments, and here I am today. And like I said, I'm glad you have me on today.
Well, we got a picture showing Clifford in his prime here. I don't know if he's got any attitude in this or not, but we'll just throw that out there. And soldiers would never do this. No, not soldiers.
No, of course not. Real quick, I always think about this picture. I was thinking today, and I was going to tell about when I left Fort Stewart. That was on my way to the second deployment. But I got to thinking about how I got there. And after OIF 2, when we got back to Germany, I was dead set on getting out of the military. And I remember you and Koo and a lot of others kept getting on to me about re-enlisting, which I always appreciated, by the way. Like they say, if you're not worth a crap, they don't want you to stay in. So I was always honored that you guys were trying to get me to stay in. But at that time, I was more about getting out. I was going to write my book, make $1 million, and call it a day. So anyway, I ended up getting orders to an infantry unit just down the road from where we were at in Kitzigan. So one day on a TMD run with Rivera, I said, hey, let's go by that infantry unit. I want to check it out real quick. As soon as we got there, first of all, I saw, wow, this is a real infantry unit. This is some hardcore stuff. And second thing, these guys were getting ready to deploy. They already had their deployment orders. So here I am. The last thing I want to do is go back to Iraq. So before we even got out of the driveway, I'm calling Koo back up on the phone, Staff Sergeant Koo. And I'm like, hey, man, is there still any re-enlistment options open for me? He's like, well, Fort Stewart's still out there. And I'm like, well, sign me up to Fort Stewart. So I get re-enlisted, and I, go out to Fort Stewart. As soon as boots hit the ground and I get to my new unit, guess what they tell me as soon as I get there? We're going to the field. We're doing deployment prep. We're going to be out in 6 months. So, I re-enlisted to get out of the deployment and go right to a place that's getting ready to deploy. But they were supposed to go out in January. And we got a little bit lucky because this was right around the time President Bush was doing the surge. And we ended up, I was in the 2nd Brigade, 3rd, 37 Cavalry. And we ended up getting pushed back to, I believe it was May. And I was still fairly new at the unit at the time. And my supervisors had called me up and said, "Hey, we need you to pick a couple of troops to go on the boat." And I got to thinking about it, and it seems like we had somebody in Germany that had ridden the boat out there. And I thought, well, that's not too bad of a detail. I'll go ahead and volunteer for it, help my street cred. I'm the new guy here. So I volunteered to get on the boat, and the first 2 weeks were awesome. It was like a vacation. And that picture there is we had about 10 hours of shore leave, and we were somewhere off the coast of Greece, and we went out and got hammered. It was just a great time. Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah. I can say it now. It was, there was like 10 of us. And, it was like everybody was cool. You didn't have to worry about anybody going out doing anything to get you in trouble. But anyway, I know I'm running out of time here, but it's always come back to me how the first 2 weeks on that boat ride was like a vacation. But then, after that 10-hour shore leave, you get back on the boat, and all of a sudden, everybody on that boat kind of just had a different mentality about it. It's like, is this over yet? Can we go ahead and get boots on the ground so we can get our countdown on? So I always think back about that 30-day boat ride and how I got there and all of that.
Supercargo's not fun. Well, we got to get you. I'm going to throw you over to the coach real quick. So because we got to get a couple more on here. Go ahead, Coach.
The only thing I have to ask is, because he's got his OU shirt on, is are they going to make the Final Four BCF playoff? That's all I need to know. Yes or no?
Skeptical.
That's what
that's skeptical.
Okay, so Clifford, we got to throw you off for one of your comrades here. So here we go. So I got Jay Clark on here, and Jay Clark is a good old trooper that I got the pleasure to serve with in Iraq. And we anticipated we could see Jay Clark coming to us for months. We could see every soldier coming to us when we're getting ready to deploy. And he had a unique first name, and I won't bust him out on that, but we would make fun of his first name. Something like Rockin' Jay Clark is his name. That's his actual name. And every time the commander and I go, where's Rockin' Jay Clark? Where's Rockin' Jay Clark? He don't know all that, but we would dog him out about that behind his back before he even got there. But a great trooper.
That's why I go by Jay.
I don't blame you there. And he's a family man, so I'm throwing it over to you, Jay. Go ahead.
Well, I appreciate it. It's really good to see you guys, and thanks for the invite and having me on. But my military career started, I was on the side of the road. I had a flat tire in my old car, and an Army recruiter had stopped with a load of troops in his van and stopped and loaded me up in the truck and took me to the recruiting office because he said he had somewhere, he had some time to burn, and he couldn't take me back to my house just yet. So he took me back, and while I was there, I took the ASVAB, and
that's a great tactic.
Blew the thing out of the water. And I was like, he's like, you could do whatever you want to do. You could fly, you can do whatever you want. I said, well, I've got a job right now. I just got a flat tire. I'm not looking to join the military right now. And come like 2 months later, my car broke down. I blew the head gasket at the track that I was drag racing at. And I called up the recruiter. I said, hey, I don't have money for a car. Can I join the Army? So it was 6 months later. I think I was sent off to MEPS and took off and joined the military. I wasn't in as long as some of you guys, all you guys, but I did 4 years. 2 tours.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So I got a picture, and I don't think you changed that much, to be honest with you, Jay, to be honest.
My neck doesn't look as long anymore. I'm just more filled out.
Yes. Yeah. So, man, those young pictures, we all appreciate those because those are our days, our better years. But Jay served with us in Iraq, phenomenal troop. And I got nothing but respect for you. So, Coach, I'm going to throw it to you real quick. What do you got?
Well, all I got is we might have to do a little chant going. Let's go, Brandon.
I love it. I love it.
Love the sticker, man. Oh,
Jay,
hell yeah. I need
Jay,
one
we might have to get you on the politics side of the podcast too now. So anyway, Jay, thanks for coming on here, and we're going to throw you to the curb here real quick, and I'm going to put somebody I know closely here on here. All right. All right, young man, it is your time to shine. We're going to see what you're made of.
All right. First of all, I want to say thank you to all the veterans. All almost everybody that's been on this show has been in longer than I have. Y'all have done way more than what I have. I have one tour to Afghanistan under my belt. And to be honest, I mean, it was a laid back deployment. I was lucky enough to have family there, and have a lot of luxuries that, especially some of the older veterans, did not have, back in early Iraq days, Desert Storm, stuff like that. While y'all have been talking, though, I've been taking some notes. Mr. Morales, and a few others, I completely agree with you guys when you need to do something with your life. I was in a similar situation where I was working in a welding factory, and I'm like, I got to do something else. So I need to do something where I can actually make a living and not $10 an hour for the rest of my life. So we went down to the recruiting station, and that's all she wanted. I was like, hey, I want to be either shooting guns or I want to turn wrenches. That's all I want to do. And luckily enough, I got to do both for a little bit. So, one of the ones I do want to say is, to be a veteran, less than 1% sign that dotted line. It takes a lot of intestinal fortitude to do that. You're pretty much writing a blank check with your life. So to me, if you have the intestinal fortitude to do that and push yourself through your contract, I mean, you definitely got what it takes. I mean, that's what it means to be a veteran in my mind. Mr. Underwood, that sounds really strange to say. Since the last time I talked to you, it was Sergeant Underwood. Definitely good times. Getting smoked, that was definitely a blast. And then a lot of people said it's a small world, and it really is. The camaraderie that we have as veterans, the brotherhood, it is infinite. I mean, if you met somebody one time, you'll link up with them again, I'm sure. For instance, I ran into two NCOs, non-commissioned officers, while I was in AIT. Technically three, but two of them had a constant influence on me, and that was Gene Underwood and Sergeant Philpott. Both of them were not directly my platoon sergeants, but over me in a way, and that I got to see later on as well. Another one of my platoon sergeants, Sergeant First Class Collada, who, and this is what I mean by family and camaraderie and brotherhood. Me and my wife were on a vacation out to Colorado, and we just happened to stop by Colorado Springs, and this NCO had seen that we were there on Facebook. He's like, hey, y'all need to come to the house, stay the night. We're like, all right, cool. It's we literally have friends and family in almost every state in the United States now. If we had a flat tire or something like that, there's always somebody we could call, and they know that it goes the other way as well. I mean, me and my wife have no problem helping people out. We have friends that have PCS here or are going to leave. Hey, do you have a room we can stay in for 2 months? Dude, go for it. We have plenty of room here. It's a family is what it is. So, I mean, it's definitely a lot of good cohesion for sure. And it lasts a lifetime.
So, Chris, one thing I got is you have something that's unique is you're dual military, and your wife also served, and she's a hard charging super trooper. And actually, she's
right here. I don't know if y'all can see her or not.
And Alana stayed in a little bit longer than Chris did. Phenomenal soldier and deployed several times, and just a class act in herself. And it didn't. Since she's not showing herself, I'm going to show a picture of Chris when he was in. This is him here in that wooden hooch that he had. And
so that was in Afghanistan. And me and my deployment wife, Pollard, one of my best friends, still talk to him to this day. He's like, dude, we gotta take some cool pictures. Like while we're here, we gotta do some superhero pictures. It's like, all right, what kind of gear can we put on that'll look cool? We don't want the helmet on because that doesn't look cool. But we piled on all of our magazines, our K-bar knife, and everything we had. Just memories is what it was. It is pretty cool.
So, Coach, I'm going to let you ask him some questions, and I got to kick him the curb. We got just a little bit more to go, and then we'll be out of here. So go ahead, Coach. You're on mute. Coach, you're on mute.
No, he's talking, but he's on mute.
Okay, there he goes. Now he's off mute. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on. My mute button wasn't even on, but nobody could hear me. But yeah, cool thing is, Chris, I've known both your parents pretty much my whole life. So one of these days I finally get to meet you. But I was hoping you were going to get to come to the bonfire that we're going to have. I don't know if you're going to get to come all the way to there, but one of these days I'll get to meet you for sure. So it'd be great to do that.
Absolutely. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I've met a lot of my father's friends and former soldiers throughout my career. I don't think there's a single place that I've ever been to in the military that I did not have somebody that either completely hated my father or completely him. So, I mean, all the way from my very first day in the unit, first sergeant or master sergeant Trunk come walking down the stairs in brigade, and he looked at me and he goes, "You're Sergeant Major Griffin's boy, aren't you?" "Roger that, Sergeant." He's like, "We're gonna have fun with you." And he's just instilling fear, and he ended up being what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, he ended up being a great mentor to me and helped me out through some tough times and some of the stuff I was dealing with. So, it's you always run into everybody. I mean, it's super small world.
So, Chris, we got to kick you to the curb. I love you, son. I'm damn proud of you. And I'll talk to you later. All right. But you're doing good. All right. So, Coach, so with that there, we went through a gauntlet of a whole lot of people that are veterans. But, how we do things, I got to kind of throw veteran. I don't know if you know this guy or not. This veteran right here. And let's hear it, Coach.
Man, that right there is my hero in life. When to this day, you're going to make me cry because to this day, when I think of heroes, I think of my dad, John Bockmon. John Everett Bockmon from Jefferson, Texas. He decided to enlist, and he wanted to go with all of his buddies that he enlisted with. A bunch of them from Jefferson enlisted together, and they were going to Vietnam. And at the last minute, he found out that he had diabetes and couldn't go, and it kind of messed him up a little bit, for a number of years. But that is my daggum hero, my best friend in life, the one I always looked up to, the man I wanted to be right there, John Bockmon. Wow, that right there hit me. Vet, thanks so much for that.
No problem. And I got another picture too. I don't know if you know about this. I'm going to throw this up. I think you might have somebody come over and help you out, talk about this. And I think this is the father-in-law for you. And I think Mrs. Bockmon somewhere around there might want to say something. I'm not sure if she's there or not. So
one of my biggest regrets is I did not get to meet this man. And from what I understand, not only was he a great soldier, he was an amazing surgeon there in Buffalo. And my wife's biggest hero is her father. There. Oh, here she comes. I'm trying to other side. There she comes. Yeah, that's her dad, Joseph Gerbasi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he was a MASH surgeon in Vietnam and got recruited, and went to Kansas and Fort Leavenworth, and then from there to Vietnam and served for, I think it was about 4 years before he came home.
Wow, that's amazing.
I'll say this. I think both of them gentlemen did a great job. So I got just a little bit more here. I got to throw, I don't know who this person is right here. Oh my gosh. It is the domestic goddess.
Here. What is the world? I was like, dude, are you not going to put your wife as a veteran on here? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So
somebody said earlier, I'm not in the Army. I didn't serve. I don't know. Gene Underwood.
I did hear that. I heard that.
I know. Me too. I was watching.
I think you should put him at parade rest, but that's just me. But anyway.
Yeah, something like that. I only served for 22 years, you know.
Wow.
Yep. So.
And we're going to see you Saturday.
Oh, yeah. And
yeah. So I gotta put a picture up.
I'm gonna bring Wolf Brand chili down for the weekend. Don't worry, I'm bringing it with me.
I'll go. Who's this person right here? I don't know who this is.
Oh, that was 1994, Abilene Proving Ground, AIT. I was around the Marines, Camp Pendleton, California. I was a nanny, and I actually joined on a green card. Back in the day, you could do those things. And, you know, I was kind of bored being a nanny, and I walked in the Army's recruiter's office, and he didn't lie to me. He gave me everything I wanted, and 4 weeks later, I was gone. And I got to go to Hawaii, my first duty station. And, oh my God, that's a long time ago. Wow. And you know what? I didn't speak English really well then. I didn't know what the word artillery was till I went to Abilene Proving Ground, because I was a small arms and artillery repair person specialist. And yeah, I didn't know what that meant till I went to Abilene into the open bays and I saw howitzers. I didn't know what that was, but the recruiter sold me on being a mechanic. I didn't know I was going to, you know, fix tanks and all that stuff, but hey, I didn't do the girly job. I did not want to be in office. So he did listen to me. I didn't want to be a medic. I didn't want to be behind a desk. I ended up being behind a desk after 20 some years, which was good. But, you know, you get what you ask for. But the Army has been good to me. It was good to us. And, you know, the best thing, I don't like to be thanked for my service because I only did my job. I don't like it. I feel awkward. I feel weird because what do you respond? Thank you. It's just awkward to me. I don't like it. So that's just me personally. But one of the greater things is to Ian's retirement or promotion, people fly in and they fly and drive 10 hours. They fly for, hey, you're getting promoted. We'll come for an hour, and they leave. My own brothers don't come to Texas or Hawaii or wherever we've been stationed because they don't take the time out to come and visit us. But these people that are on here, they're family. I mean, I was in Iraq with Ira and Lonnie, and I wouldn't call him Lonnie. I would call him the Ranger. He's the Ranger buddy. You know, we were in Iraq together. My PSD guys, they're like family. We made memories together. And if I would call any of them, they're family that they would drop everything and help you. That's the camaraderie that the Army gave to me. And that's what some other people, they just don't get it. They don't understand it because they didn't live our life. And, you know, when I moved from Hawaii to Texas, I was going back home to Germany. I was going to pack my bags. I was a single mom. I was taking my child and moving back to Germany. And I met this boy from East Texas, and he said, you know, one day you're going to marry me. And if you marry me, we're going to move to Pittsburgh. And I said, I'll marry you, but we'll never move to Pittsburgh. That was basically his marriage proposal. And guess where I'm at now? Pittsburgh, Texas.
Aren't you so glad that you enlisted in the military so you can end up in Pittsburgh, Texas with hot wings? It's unbelievable.
You know
story.
What? It's been a ride. I wouldn't change it for the world. And I would do it all over again. Yeah.
Well, I love my warrior princess and my soldier. Honey, I got to kick you the curb a second so we can get done here. But I love you dearly.
Bye.
Bye. So with that, I got one more here there, Coach, and that is it, man. I got to put on my old Kevlar. And who the hell is this guy right here? I don't know who that guy is. But oh my God.
That's who I remember from school right there.
That was a $137 at soaking wet out of basic training, a $132 walking into basic training. So I enjoyed every bit of it, and the military's done me great, and I'm more than grateful. Before we get going here, I'm going to move you around because we're going to do this right. So
there you go.
All the veterans out there, I'm going to say Happy Veterans Day, and we respect the bejesus out of you. What do you got, Coach? And we're going to get out of here.
The only thing I want to say is, this is one of my favorite things. We get to talk about vets. I get to be on here with the vets. And guess what? We're going to get to hang with some more vets next weekend in Pittsburgh. I'm bringing the cigars. We're going to have chili with no beans, please. And Alan Bailey will be there. Carl will be there. I don't know who.
It'll be good. So with that there, from the coach
And to the vet.
Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned.